either stance, that's a real problem for Canelo because he will just be switching, and you don't know where the shots are coming from, and it's so easy for him to do so. And I think the thing that really made me appreciate him is there's many times where I've seen people try and trade with him and slug it out. And
I don't know if it's reachable for him. If anybody can do it, it's him, and I'm contradicting myself. I just don't see it happening, you know. Could it happen? Yeah, it's boxing.
Terence Crawford is reportedly training alongside Gennady Golovkin in preparation for his showdown with Canelo Alvarez, a development that has generated huge buzz across the boxing world. The two are said to be working closely on refining Crawford's power, timing, and overall ring intelligence. With Golovkin's championship-level experience guiding him, this reported partnership could give Crawford an extra edge as he readies himself for one of the toughest challenges of his career. When analysts evaluate Terence Crawford, they don't see just another elite fighter, they see a rare talent with exceptional qualities. Crawford blends speed, timing, and an unmatched ability to read his opponents, setting him apart from almost everyone in the sport. He is renowned for his smooth stance switches and ability to adjust seamlessly mid-fight, a skill mastered by only a select few. His boxing IQ is often described as genius level, allowing him to dismantle rivals with precision. Observers argue that his adaptability and tactical awareness make him one of a kind, controlling fights not only with athleticism but with strategy. For many, Crawford isn't simply great, he's extraordinary.
But if there is anyone who can do it, it's Terence Bud Crawford, a man who survived getting shot in the head, for God's sakes. Like, he is not normal. He is a wizard of boxing. He's got genius IQ, one of the smartest boxers I've ever seen, and he can do it all. He's had over 40 fights. I can't ever remember seeing him, like, shook or worried. I mean, this is, you know, trained killers trying to take his head off, and he never looks out of pocket. He is like a rapper who just turns up and figures out his lines on the fly and still makes it sound like the best song you've ever heard. Like, that's how amazing he is. Like, I've never seen anyone who can fight out both stances the way Crawford can. I mean, he looks so natural in either stance. That's a real problem for Canelo because he will just be switching, and you don't know where the shots are coming from, and it's so easy for him to do so. And I think the thing that really made me appreciate him is there's many times where I've seen people try and trade with him and slug it out, and you know, when they stand in the pocket and they just go for it. And even in those situations where usually both of you are getting hit, he still manages to hit and not get hit. It's like he's in the Matrix. And this isn't against average fighters, this is against the best in the world at 4 different weight classes, and he's made it look easy pretty much every time he's moved up. I think in the Errol Spence fight, that was a fight that was supposed to be 50-50. The pressure was on, a lot of people thought he was going to lose that fight. He made that look like a boxing lesson, and the reason is when Errol Spence would throw a punch and not get out of the pocket quick enough, he would make them pay every single time. And if people are worried about Canelo's feet being slow, if there's anyone who can punish that, it's Terence Bud Crawford. In terms of weaknesses, these guys, they don't really have weaknesses. They've just got things that they maybe not as amazing at. That's the level we're talking here. Canelo has been accused of being a bit of a slow starter, and, you know, that could be a problem in this fight.
Michael Fox has emphasized that the only true disadvantage for Crawford against Canelo is the weight. Facing a naturally bigger and stronger opponent brings obvious risks, as Canelo could use physical pressure to limit exchanges. Still, Fox insists that outside of size, Crawford holds the advantage in nearly every technical category. His footwork creates angles that frustrate attackers, his jab is sharp and disruptive, and his timing is considered elite, allowing him to punish even the smallest mistakes. Most importantly, his ring IQ is among the best in modern boxing, giving him the ability to adjust tactics on the fly. Fox believes that if Crawford can withstand Canelo's physicality and prevent him from dictating with power shots, his overall skill set could take over. In that case, Crawford has every chance of outclassing and defeating the Mexican superstar.
I would like to see Bud pull it off. The thing about it is, I think the only disadvantage Bud really has is the weight. I think he has all the skills and attributes that are required to beat a guy like Canelo Alvarez. Canelo's kind of flat-footed. You've seen the fights with Bivol and Laura and even School, who didn't do much, but you see that movement irritates Canelo. You know what I'm saying? When dudes that know how to control the range and stuff like that, he didn't look like the world beater. You know what I mean? The motherfuckers that sat in front of him, them dudes that sat in front of him, we see what he did with him. You know what I mean? But guys like Bivol, who was bigger, but he bouncing in and out. Laura, motherfucking landing counter lefts, and he's circling out, and that shit was fucking with Canelo. Floyd, it probably killed Canelo that Floyd was always only an inch away. Yep. Just a little step back, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, God damn, I feel like I missed by a mile.
That's crazy because he didn't use no movement.
Right.
He stood in the pocket on it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Triple G was. You said G? Triple G?
No. I said Floyd didn't use no movement.
Yeah. No. Yeah. He was always where he needed to be in the ring. He was always where he needed to be in the ring. I'm in there to land, then I'm just right here. In there to land, but now I'm right here. It was a bad motherfucker, Joe. Like that's what we never gotta understand. Floyd was a bad motherfucker. But the movement, having good feet under you, helps against Canelo.
When new photos of Terence Crawford's physique surfaced online, Showbiz the Adult reacted with both curiosity and skepticism. The images showed Crawford in peak condition, with a noticeably sharper and more muscular build. Yet, immediate questions arose about whether the photos were authentic or digitally enhanced. Some fans speculated they were exaggerated to intimidate Canelo Alvarez ahead of the bout. Showbiz noted that while Crawford has always been dedicated in training, such dramatic physical changes naturally spark debate. This reaction underscores how closely fans and analysts scrutinize every detail leading up to a super fight of this magnitude.
Shredded wheat and amazing. Is this photo photoshopped? Because this photo that Ilia Topuria posted of Terence Bud Crawford is the latest photo we've seen, and he looks just less impressive in this photo. Well, the question is really, when were the photos taken? All right. So when you look at this photo and you look at this photo and look at this video of Terence Crawford with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh as Terence Crawford is working out, supposedly just yesterday, right? Which one is Terence Crawford's latest appearance? Because even though this is the latest photo you've seen, doesn't mean this is when the photo was taken. The only reason why people are confused is because this latest photo seems to have been taken in Vegas. And we're approaching fight week and Terence Crawford is already in Vegas. Hence the video with him with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh in Vegas. Now, let me explain all of this. Well, first you got to look at the hairstyles, right? Terence Crawford in this photo from Ilia Topuria, his hairstyle is totally different than this hairstyle here with Terence Crawford shredded wheat. It is also different than his hairstyle that he has here in the gym with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. You can tell because you can tell how the hair braid, like how it's parted in this photo, and in this photo, they're more parted down the middle, where this video, it's slanted, it's in like a diagonal slant, which I'm thinking is his latest.
Adam Smith provided a detailed breakdown of why he favors Terence Crawford over Canelo Alvarez, pointing to timing as the key factor. Smith explained that boxing isn't just about skill, it's also about facing opponents at the right stage of their careers. He observed that Canelo, though still highly skilled, has endured years of grueling battles against top-level opponents, which has inevitably taken a toll. His speed, explosiveness, and sharpness no longer appear at their peak. Meanwhile, Crawford is in what many consider his prime, undefeated, hungry, and showing no signs of slowing down. Smith argued that this perfect blend of form and motivation gives Crawford the advantage. For him, the timing of this matchup is not in Canelo's favor, making it the ideal moment for Crawford to seize victory and cement his legacy.
To be in Vegas to see, I think Terence Crawford beats Canelo, and I think that it's going to be his coming out party. I'd love to be there, and Canelo, of course, an all-time great. Yeah, but listen, I love Ireland, and I'm pleased to be in Belfast with the zone for Crocker and Donovan. There's something about an all-Irish fight which is fantastic, and it was great and controversial first time around. It's even bigger now, so yeah, let's chat over there and get on with it.
Just a quick one on Canelo Crawford. I heard you pick Crawford. You just said it there. How much of that is down to timing, and how much of that is down to styles?
A bit of both. I think Canelo is approaching 70 fights. He's been beaten before. Crawford remains undefeated. I think that the jump up is big, but I think he's got the speed, the IQ, the experience, the know-how to be able to handle it if he's switched on for every minute of every round. I think he wins, and I think he announces himself to the world on Netflix. And I think he deserves it. I think Terence Crawford's only been really known to the trade fans. Canelo, obviously, a bigger name, bigger star. And look, I fancy Crawford in this fight. Look, nothing against Canelo. Maybe it's a little bit of time in the skull fight. I don't know, but there's plenty that fancy Canelo. Be too big, too strong, too good. It's Crawford for me.
On TalkSport Boxing, debate over the Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford matchup became heated. Some commentators went as far as to claim that if Crawford suffers a decisive loss, it could mark the end of his career at the sport's highest level. Opinions were split. Some felt Canelo's size and relentless pressure would overwhelm Crawford, while others argued that Crawford's skill set and boxing IQ could expose cracks in Canelo's game. The discussion mirrored the divide across the boxing community. What stood out most was the bold prediction that defeat could push Crawford out of marquee fights altogether, highlighting just how high the stakes truly are.
So, yeah, there's a big argument that Canelo Alvarez starts the favourite going into this one because he's the super middleweight world champion. Bud Crawford jumping up to two weight divisions, and he's jumped up a weight division before that as well, beating Errol Spence. You just look at it and go, it's a massive ask here for Terence Crawford. But something inside me tells me he wins, and we'll get into that later on.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but in the meantime, Canelo, as ever, has left no stone unturned. He's been training at altitude in Sierra Nevada, looking to get the maximum body stamina and preparation advantage. It's something that he's used to. And, of course, he's going to effectively be the home fighter because Tex-Mexers will be up in their numbers from Texas. Also, Hispanic fans from all around the United States. The fight is being made on Mexican Independence Day. I don't think you have to be a great crystal ball gazer to know where the bulk of the crowd is going to be rooting when they step out inside those ropes and their names are bellowed out by the ringside announcer afterwards.
Listen, even though the fight happens in America and Terence Crawford is American, it is going to be so pro-Mexican there, because Canelo is accepted. He's like an adopted son there, and Mexican Independence Day, all of that goes so much in favour of Canelo Alvarez. You go, actually, the guy that's a four-division world champion and a superstar of the sport and American will start probably the fan favourite will definitely be Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah, definitely. And he's been training with somebody, sparring with a man who he thinks replicates Crawford's style in sparring many rounds against Yaron Ennis.
George Ferocious Kambosos Jr. offered his take by stressing Canelo's pressure fighting style. He explained that Canelo is at his most dangerous when he cuts off the ring, closes distance, and lands punishing combinations. Kambosos pointed out that Canelo's power is paired with accuracy, making his forward pressure extremely difficult to counter. He expects Canelo to force Crawford onto the back foot for much of the fight, testing whether Crawford can withstand the heavy shots without letting Canelo control the tempo. For Kambosos, Canelo's pressure is a weapon Crawford cannot afford to underestimate.
Canelo is the pressure fighter. He's got to put the pressure on Crawford. He has to be able to land his big shots. He's seasoned at fighting at super middleweight. He's fought as high as light heavyweight, as we know. So he is accustomed to the bigger punches, the bigger shots. I don't think Crawford can really land anything that's going to trouble a guy like Canelo Alvarez. Canelo is such a good pressure fighter, and for him to be successful in this fight, he needs to be able to really cut the ring off very, very well with a guy like Terence Crawford. Now, we saw in Canelo's last fight against Skull that he was not able to really cut him off well. So that has caused a lot of doubters, and people starting to think, Crawford will have that edge in the footwork and the movement department. But, when you're fighting a big fight, you're going to get up for a big fight, and he's really going to be at his best against a guy like Terence Crawford. So I believe he will cut the ring off, very, very well. And for him to be successful, he has to land shots on Crawford, put him in two frames of minds, make Crawford double think every time Canelo goes into and wants to land shots and land shots. Now, a guy like Crawford is so slick, so dynamic, able to punch you from different angles and different stances. We see he switches from orthodox to southpaw. He might fight the whole fight in southpaw. So he's so dynamic. Now, he's the kind of guy that he's going to put Canelo in two kind of frames of mind.
Some analysts have raised concerns by revisiting Terence Crawford's performance when he moved up to face Israil Madrimov, where he didn't appear as comfortable at the higher weight. They argue that stepping up again to face Canelo Alvarez is an even bigger challenge. Against Madrimov, Crawford's power seemed less imposing, and he was still adjusting to the physical demands of the division. Critics worry that versus Canelo, a naturally bigger, stronger fighter, those challenges will be magnified. They believe the size and weight disparity could dull Crawford's usual advantages, making this leap a dangerous gamble.
But a lot of people feel Crawford actually lost that fight. So we've got a Crawford who's coming in off the back of, well, his previous 2 fights. One of them was brilliant performance. The other one was a bit lackluster by his very high standards, albeit against a very, very good fighter. But you could see in that fight that the size of Israil Madrimov, bear in mind, 154 pounds, Israil Madrimov still fights at 154 pounds. This is super middleweight, 2 divisions more. And we've seen Canelo when he's brought someone up from 154 who was a decent size 154 pounder in Charlo. But Crawford's not going to do what Charlo did. Charlo fought like, you know, someone who was completely scared out of his mind and just didn't want to knew he wasn't going to win but didn't want to get stopped. That was really the look we were getting from Charlo. Crawford is not going to do that. He's a very proud man. He doesn't know what it's like to be defeated. He fully believes in himself. And the shape he looks in phenomenal shape. He's coming into this fight fully believing that he can win this. And that right there is the mindset you need to have. It will give you, it won't guarantee you victory, but it will give you a better chance than if you went in there thinking, right, just survive and see what happens. I do think that the size difference will be something. Although saying that, look at Canelo Alvarez, we look at his most recent performances, and when's the last fight from Alvarez that's really made you stand up and take note? Caliplant, Billy Joe Saunders, maybe those 2 fights, they were good performances. Lost, clearly, the Dimitri Bivol fight, although it's very close here. It was on the scorecards, it was a clear loss. Against Triple G, it was just a meh performance. Likewise against John Ryder. Charlo, we won't even talk about that. Munguia, it was a bit meh. Again, Berlanga, it was like, okay, and show me something.
That wraps up today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to stay locked in for the next update.